Okay, it's 9:33.
I think it's fine. You can start. Yes,
I suggest to
absolutely. And
start
people will enter.
little by little. Yeah, anyway,
Mm.
probably there will be other people connecting. Um, well, first of all, thanks a lot for connecting and for attending this workshop. I'm the coordinator of this project. I'm Enrico Mairofer. I work for, I'm the head of regulatory affairs in Piaggio, and I'm also the chair of the IMOB working group in the ASEM, and also the chair of the SBMC, Swappable Battery Motorcycle Consortium, which basically brings together different companies. Some of them are also part of this consortium, of this Stan4SWAP. I would like to start that the project is arriving to the end, and me as a coordinator, to be honest, I'm very satisfied and I'm very proud about the work that we have done, especially because when we started, one of the objectives was to, let's say, define a roadmap to a standard at the European level. And thanks to this project, basically, I think we did even more than that, because at the European level, we created a working group in the framework of the TC 301, which is basically the committee in charge of mobility. And the working group is basically dedicated to swappable battery system for all category vehicles. So this is quite good. We didn't stop, like this in creating the working group, because we had already different meetings. The working group was creating in June, if I remember correctly. We have already 2-3 meetings, and we presented already a kind of draft opinion, let's say, for the standard that is in discussion among the delegations, with the aim to arrive basically to technical specification at the beginning of 2026. Different delegations are active on this, particularly Italy, Belgium, Germany, Spain, and Netherlands, and Denmark. And we will have our next meeting on the 7th of November. As I mentioned, the previous meeting were very fruitful. I guess also next meeting we will have the possibility to advance on the decision, let's say, of the technical specification. What is doing this working group is basically trying to implementing the Commission implementing decision of 2022 of basically creating an European standard for swappable battery for air category, which refers to the AFIR, Alternative Fuel Infrastructure Regulation, where basically the European Commission was demanding to Senelec to create such technical specifications. We also manage to launch a debate and to present a new working item proposal at the ISO level. Also at the ISO level, we are advancing quite quickly. We have different meetings, and is a little bit more complex because, of course, the delegation are more, and sometimes also more distant, not only physically speaking, geographically speaking, but also in terms of idea of this technical specification. What else? Us as Piaggio, we are firmly convinced that this is really the last chance, I would say, to relaunch electric vehicles for the L category, because our customers basically, and this is something that we analyze also in the framework of Stan4SWAP, are still really attached to thermal engines, because probably the electric vehicles are still not very, how can I say, friendly user, if I can use this expression, because at the end, I mean, if you don't have a garage, it's quite complicated. Although the electric vehicles, for example, Piaggio, the Piaggio 1 and the Vespa, the battery are extractable, so you could eventually recharge at home. But we have seen that basically most of our customers, they recharge the vehicle in the garage if they have. So the swappable battery solution would be really a boost for electric mobility for the two wheels, and not only the two wheels, because basically don't forget that we are talking about all L category vehicles, so which goes basically from a small 45 kilometers per hour moped to L6, L7 quadricycle. So basically something corresponding to the Citroën Ami, just to understand the type of vehicles. So we are working on technical specification that could work also in parallel and series. So this could be also a big added value. And again, in terms of delegation, I see that there is a kind, at least European level, a kind of convergence on the idea. So I'm very grateful to all the partners of Stan4SWAP, not only companies but also VEB, that made a very important job in analyzing the existing standard, and of course Senelec, with which we are collaborating very closely. So that's my introduction. Maybe I give the floor to Bernard. That I remember Bernard Gindreau is not only a member of Stan4SWAP with his company, but is also the coordinator of the SBMC group, which works very close to Stan4SWAP, and is also in the advisory board of Stan4SWAP. So thanks everybody to be here, and of course I will remain connected in case of comments, questions. Please don't hesitate to ask to our participants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Enrico. Thank you for this welcome word, as also explaining the context. Before I'm moving to the aim of the standardization roadmap today, just having a look on the agenda for today, I will have the introduction first, then we will split the draft roadmap and proposition from roadmap. You all receive a document, a draft document for you to be able to go through and identify areas where standards could definitely be of added value. But then I will give the floor to Amruta for presenting very quickly the standardization gaps and to open the workshop discussion regarding battery levels. Then to Peter about the same, but at vehicle level. We'll have a short break. After that, we will discuss about the need for standardization development in support of interoperability, compatibility, but also unified solution in line with the standardization request from the European Commission to Senelec. This will be about charging station infrastructures level, and Patrick from SWABI will make the quick presentation and ensure the workshop discussion. After that, we'll go at the interface and full system management level with Michele Caggiano from Piaggio, and they will our communication will be a key element, also a strong part of the EU regulations. After that, we have a second short break, and I will come back with some open discussion regarding pre-normative research that aim to raise in maturity for preparing some future standardization topics. and we'll conclude. So this is, in short, the agenda. As I said, you all received the document that is a preliminary draft for you to understand where we are going, what has been identified so far. Let me go. I will try to share full screen mode, then I can't see you anymore, but okay. Can you see the full screen? Yeah, okay, thank you. All right. So first of all, as Enrico said, one of the objectives of this Stand4SWAP project is really to set a robust roadmap for swappable battery system for all categories of vehicles, where we are 8 different partners. You can see the partners here: Piaggio, Fraunhofer, HIBA, Senelec, the Free University of Brussels, KTM, SWABI, and myself, BMGI. And the objectives are developed in 4 different areas. The first one was to identify the needs, especially for pre-normative research, where there is not enough maturity in terms of technology or organization to be able to move to standards. Then to prioritize standardization activities supporting the deployment of a swappable battery system for the LCAT vehicles. Then we would like to also use this project and the different workshops like the one of today to increase stakeholders' engagement, and especially when we will start drafting the standards. And of course, education will be extremely important, not only educating about the role of swappable battery system as a relevant solution to our decarbonisation and of e-mobility, but also for making people understanding a bit more the role of standards in support of all the deployment of innovation solution. Standards could definitely boost innovation to markets, and that's what we also want to show. I don't want to go in details, but the organization of the work is quite traditional in a sense that we have overall coordination and management activities. And then we have different work packages to have a clear state of the art of the technical and of the technical side and also the markets. A second one to have a state of the art of the regulatory and standardization context and framework. That is also something that has evolved quite quickly these past years. Work package 4 about the need for swappable battery system development and deployment, and the work package 5 about the pre-normative research. From the previous work package to identify where there is still a gap before being able to move to standardization. And work package 6 is about the standardization gaps, listing all the gaps, all missing element of standardization that where definitely we can benefit from. And work package 7 is the one organizing this workshop today, is where we will draft the roadmap for the swappable battery system. And of course, there is an important work package 8 about communication, dissemination, education, and training, especially important for meeting this objective and ambitions to educate, to train, and to motivate anyone to enter in the future standardization activities. About this standardization roadmap and this work package, definitely the scope is to develop all the standardization needs in a coherent manner, but also to prioritize. And as you have seen before, this is the merge from all outcomes from the previous work packages, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as I said before, with the aim to have a kind of practical roadmap that will be a public document and should help both the standardization at the standardization side to identify where and what type of new work items could be launched and where to be allocated, in which existing technical committees or new technical committee. And on the same other side, also to support our policymakers, the European Commission, but also some Horizon Europe project or the next generation as well, for supporting some remaining gaps towards raising maturity in the different elements. This is the way the work is organized. We have 4 different tasks, but let's go to the deliverables. The final deliverable being this standardization roadmap itself by the deadline that will be end of November. this year. That's why today we had a kind of final restitution on the draft roadmap, collecting your remaining needs or expression of interest or request for precisions. And this document will be publicly available again, of course. We had already a workshop in July with the aim to collect all inputs. At that time, we had categorized the activities organized in a way to address topics for interoperability, compatibility of component, and communication, also safety and security, that is always transverse or cross-cutting priorities. But finally, from the workshop, we understood from all the participants, there were more than 50 attendees, that it is better to organize the standardization roadmap along the system itself. It means sequence per sequence. So at battery level first, vehicle level then, but also on charging station infrastructure level, having the interface and full system management system. And an additional very important topic that is also cross-cutting, but will be generic and general, and also answer to some of the requests from the Euro regulation, a strong support about considering communication level. Why did you selected to or propose to have the roadmap organized by levels as such? It's also because we have at the standardization landscape existing technical committees already concerned by within their scopes by these different let's say levels or partial activities at battery level, vehicle for mobility, etc., etc. We collected also additional topics and areas that have been included in the roadmap we circulated to you, a draft roadmap a couple of days ago. So the aim of today, a final workshop, is really to have the final words and to put a final touch on this roadmap that will continue to be detailed, of course, but being sure that we haven't missed something. We are aligned with the development at industry level and also consideration of users' needs. As Enrico said, this could definitely bring some added value benefit for the mobility scheme, but also we need to have something that is very user-friendly. And we also need to prepare and motivate large participation of experts during the future development of standards. This is always an issue. We need to have the right experts understanding all the different needs and the challenges, and being sure the standards that will be developed totally support the development and deployment of such solutions. Then we also need to ensure alignment with the societal and social related needs and expectations, where education will also be important. And the aim of course also of this final workshop and the standardization roadmap is to act as a relay to communication and dissemination for ensuring a strong engagement and commitment of all the different parties, and also anticipating how to integrate in a management approach for at city level, urban level, especially how to integrate some swappable solution related infrastructures and organization. That's something extremely important that is also tackled at standardization level in the smart and sustainable development of cities and communities. Okay, having said that, the way we organized this workshop is really, we circulated the different document. We have tried to invite all categories of concerned stakeholders to really collect your final inputs and recommendation. And again, the roadmap you receive will be organized, and you have this, you have read this already, with a list of pre-normative research, where definitely we need to understand where there is still a need for raising maturity before moving to standardization. We had a list of standardization gaps, and we had a list of very important communication-related topics that will be part of the presentation and workshop sessions of today. At the end, after receiving all your inputs, we will be able to fine-tune and validate the Stan4SWAP proposed roadmap. And of course, any additional recommendation will be welcomed, either in support of research development innovation that could be a proposal in future calls with the EU funding, but also national funding. Policy regulation, sometimes either precision improvement, but also publicity to engage people in considering the relevance of all these different pieces of regulations, pre-normative research, and boosting the deployment. These are the main aim of the workshop as of today. And I guess I'm at the end of my time right now. If it's fine to all, just a quick point. You have the possibility to ask also questions in the Q&R part of this Zoom meeting. Please do so as soon as you have some suggestion and you would like also to see some additional topics being considered or any question related to precisions or details or a better understanding of the progress of our activities. Having said that, I would like to give the floor to Amruta for presentation of the standardization gaps and the list of major topics at battery level, and then to open the floor for discussion. Again, I would like to ask you to write your questions in the Q&R, and I will give the floor to some of the questions, if we have not time for all of them, for you to express your understanding and your request. Please, Amruta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bernard. I hope you can see the presentation now.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this workshop. As Bernard mentioned, today I'm going to talk about the standardization from the battery level. Myself, Amruta Rajamani. I'm the researcher and project manager from HYBA. HYBA is a swappable battery manufacturer based in Europe, from Italy. So here, as he mentioned already, like we already had drafted some of the work package deliverables. Like HYBA was in charge of the work package 2, basically like deriving and drafting like the technical and market state of art for the standardization. Also, we were cooperating with other work packages to support at the needs for the PNR and standardization from a battery level. And for Yeah, as you have already seen, this is the agenda for today. uh, Also, like we had like already drafted some of the recommendations from the earlier workshop. But so I think today we have to be more concise so that you can also share your recommendations. For from the battery level, like we have already identified some of the gaps and needs for pre-normative research and also for the standardization. If we see like without the standards, without the standards among the batteries, the interoperability and compatibility, also like our safe deployment, and also in the market point of view to scale up and also to adapt to the EV, or like also adapt to swappable system will be very difficult from all stakeholders point of view, like from OEMs or like end users, or like from like even policymakers. Like there will be like a difficulty to enter the market. And some of the top categories of gaps that we have identified are like first of all safety, including fire mitigation, temperature monitoring, or like a safety in terms of cyber security and software level also, which is like one of the most important criteria, I think, because this is also increases like ensures reliability from the endpoint end user point, also like for the like the fleet managers, or also like from the OEMs. Like it's very important to ensure the safety and security. And from for the BMS specifications, like BMS is the battery management system. It's important to like have a set of like basic parameters, because when there is like very diverse parameters or very diverse features from put every product, like also prevents like interoperability or like a compatibility, and also end of life and circularity, which I think we'll see more further in next slides. But I'll also wrap up something here, that we already have some of the regulations in EU regulation, battery regulations, or like some of the standards, or uh, for instance for the green European Green Deal, or something like that. We have some goals for the coming years, but to achieve that, we don't have a set of guidelines or like a protocols to follow for the battery level, so that it will ensure that we will reach those goals in the number of years, coming years, including circularity goals. And also longevity, degradation, and durability. We have like a very diverse set of regulations and protocols for let's say for each brand, or each country, or each region. It's very diverse also, so most of them are at cell level, like not at the vehicle level or battery level. So that also restricts that to know the details, such as how is it's degrading, how is it durable, and what is the lifetime, and so on. And especially mechanical and electrical parameters, this is also varying very differently from product to product. And like without the connector standards, compatibility or interoperability is unthinkable. And for the certification process also, like when you look at the swappable system, like there's no basic standard to ensure this is a certain grade of product, this it's reliable or like durable, or something like that. And we are focusing on some of these parameters here. As Bernard mentioned, we have already drafted some of the requirements, and it will be good to have from perspectives from all kinds of all stakeholders, so that we can ensure like everything is included in this study. And yeah, first, as I mentioned, for the safety and fire mitigation, it's like a basically like a when there is inconsistency from product to product, there is a lack of reliability. So if, basically, like simple thing from end user point, it's very difficult for them to rely on electric mobility itself, like when there is like common widespread uh, problem of like how we can rely on this product, what is it certified on, things like that. And when there's multiple batteries stacked, there are multiple battery packs like in different applications, there is no basic protocols for multiple batteries. But maybe there are some at like a cellular level or like particular application levels. But this can also synchronize, like when there is a harmonized guidelines, this can increase like the public confidence also. It's easy for the OEM point of view to reach the market, and also like to increase the adoption to swappable system. And from the BMS point of view, for the communication, I know there is a dedicated session at the different part of the workshop, so I'm not going into detail. And from the battery management system, we have we don't have any standard protocol to identify the battery health, state of charge, state of health, or something like that. Also, like from the EU battery regulation, we have something called like battery passport, which will be mandatory like in the coming years, so like to monitor some of the parameters from the battery. So it is, to reach such goals, it's important to have like a guidelines to like how it is monitored, like how this set of parameters are monitored. And also as I mentioned, cyber security, which is very important. How the communication, to ensure like a safe communication from the battery to the vehicle, or to the user, or to the OEM. It's very important parameter. And this can also ensure like the reliability from the from the fleet managers or OEM point of view, like when they are associating with other products or other brands. And also, like most importantly, like we can accurately like monitor and assess the battery health, which is very important to comply with the regulations itself. And for the life cycle, this is also something related to what I mentioned earlier. We have a set of end of life, like a set of regulations to retract to take, like to recycle a certain amount of critical raw materials from the battery at the end of life, and also to monitor particular set of data from the battery itself. But this number will be increasing in the coming days. For instance, like this much percentage of lithium should be recycled, it should be uh, used back in the system at the end of life. And like this number is going to increase in the further years to ensure that the product is properly in the circularity. But to achieve this, like the end of life, the protocols to for the end of life, like let it be recycling or refurbishing or anything, so we need a particular set of protocols to ensure this harmonization between the uh, regulations and what is currently being done. Again, same for the degradation rates or like longevity. The protocols now for the degradation testing and durability is at basically like cell level or particular application level, not like for the swappable battery itself, or like multi battery, or like the for the L category vehicles in common. So this could really help when there is like when there is a unified degradation testing protocol or something. This could really help uh, to to have more how do I say, like in real world situations. It also increases like uh, the the product quality, like in a qualitative level. It ensures that it the widespread adoption of the swapping system itself. And from the as I mentioned, for the end of life and life cycle, like it's better, it can help like a better repurposing and reusing of the product itself. So when you look at the whole life cycle level, like we have to ensure like this solution is better. And mechanical, electrical modularity and connector gaps, and when there is like it's in a simple math, when there is no compatibility among the mechanical features and electrical features and features like connections, like uh, interoperability impossible, like uh, without the physical and electrical features. So these are very important. And also, like from the vehicle and charging station level, we have dedicated sessions. But yes, it's it's one of the most important features, let's say. And also yeah, like from like we have to consider the factors, like how the end user is approaching, like about the weight and dimensions, like in an ergonomic point of view also, like from for the like cross vendor swapping possibilities also. Yep. As Bernard mentioned, like we will gather inputs from all stakeholders, and also uh, identify more needs where the standardization is needed and pre-normative researches are needed. And we will contribute all this into the into drafting this roadmap for standardization. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Amruta. I would propose to give the floor for some additional inputs or points of attention you would like us to consider.
Yeah.
As I said at the beginning, I got a question from Luc. Luc, about consideration of, let's say, relevance with the high L set of categories to also other categories of small vehicles. I would like to give you the floor, Luc. I think I need to, yes, you can speak now, in fact. Yes. Please, Luc.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Luc Vinks. I'm in this call more or less by accident because I have a big client, the Belgian organization BEC, but you're touching about a topic that I'm carrying in my heart for 35 years. Because I'm working in vehicle regulation for 40 years, and I testified to the opening of the market in 92, and I know about the story of big quadricycle versus small passenger cars. And maybe it's the time to start to revise certain things. To put a long story short, I would recommend you, the team, to consider to expand the scope of the standard to L class plus M1 and N1, for example, up to 4 meter length. And I was triggered by the first speaker, Ms. Enrico from Piaggio, about the economical viability of small EVs. And I know I can explain it to you in a bilateral session. I have been working for Fabiac, for General Motors for 20 years. I'm working as a consultant for other players. There could be a case in using a platform for a small four-wheeler or even four-wheeler and with a three-wheeler variant, and to have different type approval, L6, L7, M1, N1, for vehicles built on one and the same platform, for a small four-wheeler or three-wheeler. And that might help to solve the issue of economies of scale and economies of scale and economical viability. So the suggestion is add to the scope M1 up to 4 meter, and N1, Nicholas 1, and Marie 1 up to 4 meter. But I would suggest to have a bilateral discussion, or maybe half a day, with some of the stakeholders that are present today in a smaller group.
Thank you, Luc. It is a point we can also consider. I had also some expression of interest from other categories of vehicles that, especially in the T categories also, where it is agriculture related, where now we have these small wheels that could also be some vehicles for urban application where the context is completely different. Just to understand that we are concentrating on swappable batteries that are hand swappable. So however, we consider that we can have several batteries in series and especially in parallel towards making a recommendation from this project. You know, there will be some roadmap for standardization, but also recommendation.
Yes, okay, yes, I'm okay with what you're saying. I mean, just to
in that sense, Michele, any additional answer?
Yes, the distinction between a quadricycle and a passenger car is not only about, it's not basically about autonomy, but also about safety. So it is possible to imagine an M1 certified vehicle with limited driving range, but still in addition to another variant in the quadricycle. So even if the battery capacity is limited, it could be considered, my idea could be further considered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll keep this point attention, and we'll come back to you also. Thank you, Luc. All right, I haven't seen other questions in the Q&R, so I suggest we move to the next level, that is at the vehicle level, and I'd like to give the floor to Peter. Peter, are you ready to share your screen?
Will to share the screen?
Yeah.
Share.
Thank you.
Okay, share. I will try to, okay, I push share. Keynote, okay. Now you should see it.
Yes, we can. That's fine, Peter.
But in fact, can you see do you still see it now? Okay, continue to share, yeah, okay.
No, we can't see now. Oh, I can't see.
Okay, then I have to call it again. Okay, so no, sorry, it went.
It is
I lost
big.
it.
Yeah, it was big enough. Maybe you don't need to move to full screen mode.
Okay, okay, now okay, it's keynote share. Where is it gone? So screen. Okay. Just one moment, so because I think I lost my screen. I will stop this. Okay, go out and then share again. So I think I know what went wrong. I'm sorry for this this mess up, because yes, there it is. So I'm going to speak about the actually the same details, but then more to look at the vehicle level. So basically, what is needed for specific vehicle standardization if we want to also take into account swappable batteries, okay, at vehicle level. And first of all, we would see what does it take to get a swappable battery in a vehicle. Of course, we have Amruta has spoken about the battery itself, but to fit it in the vehicle, and basically we have to take into account the main aim of Stan4SWAP is to have really a standardized battery which goes above models, above brands. So one type of battery that can go in several types of vehicles, which means, first of all, the vehicle have to be able to receive the battery. There should have been a battery compartment inside the vehicle that can accept the battery. And that is one point where there is at the moment completely no standards, because we're coming there on an area of a vehicle design, and all vehicle manufacturers design, they take it in their own hand, and they don't have a standard like an ISO of IEC who sets you how and in which shape should they design the vehicle. Of course, there's some safety regulations and so on, but basically the design of a vehicle, it's also part of the brand identity of a vehicle, is something that the manufacturers keep normally as they own. It's the DNA of a brand, is the design of the vehicle. And they, if we need there to put something designed constraints through standardizing batteries, it will. I think that will be one of the most tough challenges to go to for the design. That's mechanical, so basically it's to accept the battery. It has to be a certain shape, fit in a certain compartment. Also, electrically, there should be some standard that say what is the let's say typical. Mostly the voltage of the battery. There are some de facto standards, like say the value of 48 volt is very popular for the type of battery we are talking about, but they are not yet official real standards, but there should be standards about the electrical requirements. And then we come to the interface. First of all, of course, it will be spoken about in the battery. It will be spoken about also in infrastructure. The connector on the battery that goes into the charging column, that things you see on the right on the figure, should of course be the same connector that goes into the vehicle. For this, there are also some IEC standards, but are mostly on the infrastructure side. They should also be developed on the vehicle side. And another point is, of course, the communication between the battery and the vehicle. The vehicle gets a battery inside, but it's not just the cells. He must know, yes, is it correct? The correct size of battery, the size will be the same box, but the correct voltage. What is the capacity of the battery? So I can show it on the display, how many energy is left is. So there's a certain communication between the vehicle and the battery needed. Just there will be a communication needed between the battery and the charging post. So all those standards that now exist, but not necessarily at vehicle level, has to be more or less harmonized. If I said harmonized, not only in the sense of EU harmonized standards, but also in the fact that different standards have to be aligned on the same level. Work has been done. You see here, I spoke a few times about IEC, but here we speak about vehicle design, and the vehicle itself, it mostly covered by the ISO standard. Specifically, we have TC22, which is for road vehicles in general, and Subcommittee 38 is specifically dealing with mopeds and motorcycles, so the kind of two-wheel vehicles we're talking about. And on European level, it is a CEN committee dealing with all vehicle levels. The IC or CENELEC deal more with the electric components and infrastructure, but CEN and ISO, they deal with, in fact, the vehicle sides. They're also some touch with regulations. If we speak about communication with the battery, that means that giving data about the battery, and then of course we come on the level of the battery regulation. We speak about battery passport, we speak about state of health communication, state of charge communication. So that's a point there. And also those batteries will come in contact with infrastructure. So the AFIR, alternative fuel infrastructure regulation, will be in fact quite relevant. So we see on this level, we come to standards on vehicle design. And if you look at the things there, except the connectors, where there are some other standards going on, there's still a lot of standardization to do to define a standard battery, which also can be fit in different vehicles, and also to define the way how this battery is received in the vehicle, which is something which interferes with vehicle design, and of course will be a quite difficult thing to put that in an international standard or European standard. Another point here, okay, I have to click here, is in fact, it's not really a standardization issue, but it is an administrative issue. It is about vehicle type approval. All vehicles on the road, except maybe the lightest electric bicycles, they fall under the directive for vehicles, and they have to be type approved to be put on the European market. For, let's say, real road vehicles, those are dealt with UNEC regulations. But for the two-wheel vehicles, they fall under the regulation 168/2013. And at this moment, this regulation, they consider a whole vehicle type approval. So the type approval is valid for a certain vehicle with its drive and with its battery inside. So basically, type approval is done with one specific type of battery, and it's not thought that you could take out that battery and put another one in. Not necessarily the same one, because you can imagine that swappable batteries exist, of course, with the same voltage but with different capacities. But basically, if you swap your battery, your type approval is not the same anymore. And this is just because of the regulation is written in that way that it doesn't take into account the concept of battery swap, because nobody thought about it. Anyway, the main aim of to have a type approval is to ensure that a vehicle can go on the road in a safe way, but the performance of the vehicle, basically, for example, certain class of two-wheel vehicles, they have a type approval, they are approved up to 45 kilometers per hour, otherwise they are motorcycles. But that means those classifications, which are basically an issue for the safety. The safety is defined by the drive, by the motor, by the inverter, how it is regulated. It's not so much defined by the battery. Of course, if the battery would be too small, it would not be able to give the same performance. If you put a battery which is, let's say, double the capacity, of course, it will double the range, but it will not influence the real safety aspect of the vehicle. So for the type approval procedure, which is safety driven, actually the very type of the battery inside is only a secondary factor. So we should come to approval of the vehicle without a fixed battery. This is just an administrative issue, but it's something which has to be considered. And a final point about those regulations which can be effective for battery has to do with the vehicle onboard charger. Already it was said before by Enrico, I believe, that many vehicles, two-wheel vehicles, they are charged with the battery still in the vehicle. They are not charged with, in fact, swappable batteries, even you can take them out. It's also possible that you charge with the battery in the vehicle, which can be done. Some vehicles may be fitted with an onboard charger, which is then connected with either the mode 3 cable as in the typical electric road vehicles, or mode 1 with a standard plug, which is often used in light vehicles. Or you can use a DC connection. That means that you connect. We have an external charger, which can be a small box, you plug it in, and from the external charger, they go a cable, a DC cable you plug in the vehicle. That's what is usually done, because few vehicles have an AC charger on board. And there has been some work done in IC 61851-3, which is specifically for the light vehicles. Actually, it's for vehicles with double or reinforced insulation, but basically it's for the small vehicles. There are also some 62196 IEC standards. Yes, I should have put, I use them a lot, so I don't put IEC, but those with standards starting with a 6 are usually IEC standards. But the connector, the type of connector that is used to connect the charger to the vehicle, often it's a proprietary type. There are no standardization, and that is something also that should be worked on, because the AFIR, the regulation for alternative fuel infrastructure, they put some standard connector for, let's say, charging vehicles. The type 2 plug from 618-196-2 is being universally adapted in Europe thanks to that regulation. But for the also for the heavy fast charging, there's something in the regulation. But for those small DC connections, for let's say up to basically they're up to 60 volt or maybe sometimes even 100 ampere, they exist, but it's not put in the regulation yet. But I must say that this point is the last slide, even if we covered it because it's an identified gap, it's slightly out of scope of Stan4SWAP, even if it's mixed against Stan4SWAP, because we speak about swapping batteries, which is one of the ways that you actually can put a full battery inside a vehicle. This was a presentation of those main gaps that exist on vehicle level. Now I would like to ask to you and open the discussion a bit. You can put it in Q&A or anywhere else, but to start a discussion a bit to see where you in the panel, find in the whole webinar, who are the, let's say, the user of the vehicle or designer or manufacturer of a vehicle, where you could see any other standardization gap. So mainly the thing is that to come to a conclusion, if I don't put it on a slide, but I can repeat what I mainly put on the first and most important slide, that there are we come there on matters on vehicle design, and there are no standards for vehicle design, which is in fact the own thing of every manufacturer. And there should be some standards chosen and defined, so we can come to the ideal of Stan4SWAP, which is one standard battery that can fit several type of vehicles, not only of the same manufacturer, but also cross-used by several manufacturers. So this was a short presentation from my side, and now we can go on to the discussion part. Please, so Bernard.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. Good point also to raise the challenge regarding battery charging on board, even if it's out of the scope of Stan4SWAP. I haven't seen any Q&R so far. I guess people read also the draft list of standards we proposed in the document we circulated a couple of days ago. So I think that's good. I would like just to remind a point, as no one is asking for questions. One of the ideas for the swappable batteries, but also the benefit regarding our pieces of regulation, but also the EU commitment strategy that also concern the resource efficiency, is to pave the way to battery as a service as well, but also a very, let's say, relevant and optimized manner to check the state of health of a battery at the charging station, and then to make the decision there about moving the battery from primary application to secondary life, or even later to end of life, which is also a kind of point of collect for the old batteries towards recycling. And this could definitely optimize and give a robust concept for the batteries, and also circularity and resource efficiency. So this is also one of the added value if we are not only considering the primary application of e-mobility. I see a point from Christophe Oder. Christophe, I will give you the floor. You can speak now. Just unmute and Okay, that's it. Please.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, I was just making the point that perhaps the whole vehicle type approval isn't the big barrier that perhaps it might seem to be, because obviously we have removable batteries in electric motorcycles at the moment. So swappable ones could probably be approved as well. It just means that it's not very clear, but it's probably not forbidden either.
Yeah. Peter, answer to that? Or
yes, it can be so if it's a removable battery, of course, but if it's swapped with one, normally you have to take exactly the same battery to be really in the letter of the type approval. But as I said, this is mostly an administrative issue, and it's not really an issue directly related to the operational aspect or safety aspect, because the type approval is mostly an administrative issue, and the problem is mostly an administrative problem here.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Michele.
Yeah, Michele, please.
Yeah, just to answer the question, you're right that you can indicate an additional battery, but in this case, again, the power, the class of the battery, and all the specifications should be fixed. What we highlighted in this project is that in the swappable ecosystem, there will be different battery makers coming from different cell chemistry that will have a different output in terms of energy, in terms of power, in terms of C rate, and also in terms of lifespan. In this case, we would like to homologate the vehicle generically, and the limited power should come from vehicle management system and not by the homologated battery. That is what Peter was underlying before. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michele. Okay, but thank you also, Christopher, for the comment. That will be also considered. Okay, I don't see any additional questions, so I would like to move to the next point, that is just a small coffee break for everyone. Please be back in 10 minutes from now. Then we'll move to the charging station and infrastructure level, and also the full system management and interface. So that will be very important before the end of the workshop regarding also list of PNR. So please be back in 10 minutes. Don't leave the meeting. We need your inputs, and there are lots of interesting inputs and outcomes of this work to be shared with you. Thank you. 10 minutes coffee break. I would like to continue with the next point, being the charging station infrastructure level. And I'd like to give the floor to Patrick from SWAPB. Patrick, you can share your screen, please. And remember, everybody, if you have a question or a suggestion, please write it down in the Q&A area of the Zoom applications. Thank you. The floor is yours, Patrick.
Thanks, Bernard. Good morning, everybody. Give me a second to organize here my screens. You should see my presentation now, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Good. Hello together. I'm Patrick Kniest, CTO at SWAPB. Due today the replacement of Arne because of his sickness leave, and we'll give you a short overview about necessary or wanted regulations on battery charging stations. Take a look in the pre-normative research, and from my point of view, I have found out two classification of topics. The one topic would be topics at or pre-installation relevant. So that means when we want to install a battery swapping station somewhere on a new location. I would go deeper into the whole topic later on. And the second topic is regulations and standards for operations, which are then really relevant for what we have already heard from battery side and so on. So from installation relevant topics, we see at SWAPB every time upcoming discussions about what are the needs and what are the requirements and what are the regulations for install such a battery swapping stations. Yeah, and there are different ideas from different stakeholders, because there is actually no regulation about permission in building areas and so on. And therefore, mostly the people which are then on the location side takes comparisons to wall boxes, to other kind of shelves or kiosks and so on. Yeah, but it's every time for us as battery station provider, yeah, a discussion, yeah, which we need to face. For their point, definitely harmonization, yeah, of permission codes and so on would be helpful, yeah, especially for indoor and outdoor. And also, yeah, the footprint could be helpful, because then also later on you can replace the station. Yeah, let's think about after 10 years there would be a new generation or whatever. And also ventilation and spacing guidelines. We have our own guidelines for our station, but yeah, we have done that by ourselves. That comes also in relation to the fire safety topics, because we have done with the Institute of Applied Fire Protection Research here in Germany a burn-down test of one of our stations. And from that point on, we was able to define these spacings around our station, yeah, and had also some kind of document we was able to hand over to location partners. So that would be also definitely a point where we need to have harmonization and regulations. In the US, we see actually an US standard, that's the 1487, where are strict requirements on the fire safety and thermal runaway behavior, yeah, which means also you are not allowed to touch the station and so on. So all these things would be very helpful also to get the partners which are on the other side, which want to provide us a space where to set up, give some trust into the whole product. Yeah, then we can reach a certification, and by that we would speed up the whole installation process. Second topic is standardizations and regulations by operations. We have already heard also in the presentations before, topics about state of charge, state of health, standardization. We as SWAPI have also seen in the past with different batteries, different algorithms about calculation of state of charge, calculation of state of health, and so on. And when it comes to a really sharing scenario between different manufacturers, then we need also to harmonize these topics, yeah, because the customer wants to have a battery where he can trust also into the range he can reach with his vehicle at the end. Yeah, and if he gets a battery from manufacturer A, which gives a higher range than manufacturer B, he would lose the trust into the whole sharing. And therefore, we need really to generate standardizations, find ways how to make it also clear to the customer what he gets here out of the station, and yeah, what he pays for. Also, there are topics about taxes. Yeah, that's also a topic what we are especially facing when it comes to it's charging as a service scenario, what we are doing for fleet providers. Yeah, because we don't want to sell direct energy, because that's very complicated here in Germany and Europe. Yeah, we making only flat rate services at the moment because of the whole regulation which is behind that, and that makes it also very complicated. And it would be also, or it would be reachable, but it would make the product very, very cost intensive. Yeah, because we would need to have the right measurement devices at every battery slot, and that is not a scenario where we want to be. So that would be a topic. And also insurance. Yeah, we see we supporting and consulting a new battery swapping provider, which is shortly in front of his installation phase. And there comes also questions about how to get an insurance for the station, because it's a new product, nobody knows it, and that makes the whole topic also complicated. That an insurance company don't knows how to handle that and what are the risks and so on. So also these things should be taken to become a more known and more modeled guideline for all stakeholders here in the topic. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, waiting for your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Patrick. Indeed, you raise an interesting point regarding also the uniform insurance coverage and the requirement. This is also where standards could definitely contribute in a significant manner by creating trust and confidence and ensuring a kind of alignment of consideration, but also alignment of the model of risk. That's something extremely important. This is always the case when we have some innovative products or innovations. I don't see any Q&R so far. Would anyone like to take the floor, both from the panelists but also from the participant? If so, please raise your hand. I can see no. So in short, also, Patrick, we are developing this in the standardization roadmap by identifying some critical topics also that will be part of the final deliverables of Stan4SWAP project, where also recommendation can be done. We have not only issues regarding standardization, but also recommendation to make things running properly and in a robust and efficient manner. So this is also where we will have this type of added value. So no questions so far. So thank you again, Patrick. Then I suggest we move to the next point, that is the interface and the full system management. And I'd like to give the floor to Michele. Michele, you can share your screen, please.
Perfect. Thank you, Bernard. Give me now should be visible.
Yes, we can see. Perfect.
Yeah, as my colleagues were underlining, I would like to say that SBMC is going to propose a technical specification for future standardization at European level, at SERI level, and will be a proposal for some of the issue that my colleagues were representing especially at the battery and vehicle level before the break. I'm now highlighting probably one of the most important points, and probably at the legislation level, one of the most complicated one with the biggest gap we found. So in our idea, but already shared at ISO level, the swappable ecosystem and the swappable business model is the one like in the figure, different starting from the users. Different OEM can design vehicles that can use battery, standardized battery coming from different producer that can be charged in different charging station belonging to different energy economical operators. This is the let's say swappable world that we saw feasible, that will contribute to the smart city decarbonization and also the freedom for the drivers and improving the circularity around the electrification program of the European Community. So, to let this world working, we identify that there are two core problems. Sorry, there is a mistake. There is lack of regulated energy data money exchange among energy operators who wants to invest in the swappable ecosystem. On the opposite, we are facing with local and singular initiative. We mean measures, city measures, instead of to commit for a standard solution. So we don't have at European level a regulation that manage an exchange platform where different energy operators can make business and apply into the swappable world. Moreover, this not only is missing this regulation, but it should be cross-border effective to overcome local initiative, national legislation, and also taxation arbitration. That is another big topic. So our priority focus is regulation guideline drafting for energy multi-operator interoperability. And if we don't say that we are totally lacking of regulation, we can investigate, or the European Community can investigate if the red directive could be integrated for this swappable ecosystem. Moreover, the observed gap, as I told, there is a lack of regulated for exchange of energy data money among energy operators, but also we saw that there are lack of regulated energy supply contract subscription models. Moreover, there is no regulation that say that you can have an energy contract with an energy operator, and the energy is delivered in a rechargeable system, so in the swappable battery, basically. Also, this should be clarified and regulated. So the needed standard regulation guidelines drafting at the beginning for energy operators interoperability, guideline drafting for energy supply by means of a storage system. The impact will be on energy operators' involvement, public confidence and awareness, swappable battery system as energy for the responsible mobility in the smart city. This is generic point that we would like to collect feedback from energy operators, OEM, from you that are participating in this meeting, and in order to fine-tune our standardization roadmap. Thank you, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much, Michele. We clearly see the gaps, clearly see the needs. As you said already, there are some ongoing activities in standardization level. When we started with this project, there was no such, let's say, development, or not at that point. However, everyone understands again what you said, and this is also in line and with respect with the standardization request from the European Commission in the framework of the Alternative Fuel Infrastructures Regulation, AFIR, having need to have a unified solution. That means being able to use the same equipment for different vehicles, different brands, and that will help both decreasing the cost, having something that is easy at a smart city level also to engage with, because the city mayors and local authorities, they can't select just one single model. They need to offer something that can cover the choice made from their citizens, in fact. And the second point is also to ensure that compatibility using, as you said, the different chemistries could also be relevant when we have different batteries also in several series or parallel. That's something important. I don't see any questions so far, but if there is some question from the floor, please raise your hand and I can give you the floor. Yes. We have all these type of details with more description and more complete descriptions in the document, draft roadmap document we circulated to you last week. Okay, so I don't see any additional points. Michele, any final points you would like to add, as you still have some time for that? Or is it okay?
My point is, as we conclude, our proposal should be evaluated by energy operators, definitely, and to see how they saw the business model, because in our investigation, in our study, we also identified in the swappable standard also easiness for the secondary life and for the waste battery recycling, because at the end you will go to from an energy operator. They will have already planning of multiple battery secondary life usage, because they know what they are putting into the market and probably when they will be retired, removed from the market. So in this case, the swappable standard can also help the I don't want to say standardization, but help the circularity, including the waste battery recycling that today is lacking of a real battery to be scrapped and recycled. Mm-hmm. And so the factory that shall recycle or shall put into a second life are really not cheap. So the battery cost is also affected by the waste part of the total life cycle of a battery. And we think that the swappable ecosystem can give a contribution to close the loop.
Yeah. Thank you, Michele. I think it's a good point, which also shows we have some point in the PNR we'll see after in a while also, regarding how to define the different threshold for moving from primary applications to secondary life. And of course, at the end, for the end of life of the batteries. But as you said, that the cost especially will also be concerned by the complete life of the batteries and the different type of application services provided. It is something that is extremely important. Okay, I don't see any additional questions, so I would like to move then. Thank you again, Michele, to the next presentation and next point that has been also raised as a very priority ones regarding communication, which is also part of the EU regulations, and how to optimize communication in a safe and secure environment, and what type of communication would be recommended. I'd like to give the floor to Karl-Maria from KTM. So floor is yours, Karl-Maria. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bernard. I will quickly share my screen, hoping that it works. Okay, I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. For confirmation. Yeah, well, last point on this, let's say, information block of this today's agenda is about communication. As you all heard from the previous presenters, I think you can imagine that, yeah, the entire ecosystem of the swappable battery is a quite complex one. And when looking into communication, indeed, we need to look into the entire ecosystem. This is to identify, first of all, the entities which need to communicate with each other. And there are quite a variety of entities in this ecosystem. I mean, it's clear that there is a battery, it's clear that there's a vehicle and a charging station, but of course, there are also service providers. There is the infrastructure which we need to consider. And eventually also certain business models which will introduce additional entities into this ecosystem. Then secondly, of course, we need to look into what kind of information is generated within this ecosystem, how it is processed and how it is shared. And this will also then, of course, bring us to the point to think about the appropriate technology or the appropriate means of communicating this information. With regards to the generated information, or we may also call it data, I think it is wise to think about, carefully think about what data is necessary for what kind of service in this, or service or operation in this ecosystem. And here we recommend to distinguish between three data types. The first data type is the essential data. This is data which is solely necessary for the operation of the ecosystem. And it shall not contain any other data than that data which is necessary to operate the system. Then there is the optional necessary data, which is data that is necessary to implement the ecosystem as such on the market, or to introduce additional or individual items into this ecosystem. And this data, for example, covers data or information required by regulations, for example, by the battery regulation. Or, for example, also related to end of life, extended producer responsibility, or as we heard it before, then the treatment of, for example, a battery with regards to repurposing, reusing, or recycling in the end. This optional necessary data could also already relate to some basic or generic business models, but it should also be carefully defined and not be extended to data which is not really necessary. And then finally, there is the optional additional data, which could be used, let's say, to include any additional data which is neither essential nor necessary, but which could still be useful to support operational aspects or business models within the ecosystem. These considerations should be made because we should be aware that each data element, each information will be related to some effort that is that comes from the treatment of this data. And the treatment of this data often is related to regulations. And three of these regulations are listed on the bottom of the slide. First one is data protection and data privacy. So whenever data is generated and it can be related to an individual person, for example, you need to make sure that you comply with data protection and data privacy requirements. The second is whenever you introduce any kind of interface into a product, that allows to share data, you need to make sure that it is safe from cybersecurity perspectives. And in the EU, there is this Cyber Resilience Act that regulates aspects like this, or for the vehicle, for the motorcycle in the future, UNECE Regulation 155 will become mandatory for type approval. And last but not least, whenever data is generated, of course, this data is owned by somebody. And the ownership, and especially also provisions for making such data available by the owner, is also regulated on EU level, and this is done by the EU Data Act. And all these three regulations, as I said before, they come along with some kind of burden when treating relevant or related data, and that's why we recommend to really be careful in defining the amount of data that is necessary for the specific operations, use cases, and business models. Well, once we know which data we have to generate, which data we have to share, then the question is, okay, how to share this? And there are certain technologies or means of communication available. First of all, there could be a direct communication, meaning linking two elements, two items of the ecosystem to each other. Could be, for example, via a CAN bus, a data bus between a battery and the vehicle, or a battery and the charging station. Second possibility is a visual communication, meaning to mark, to label items, a battery or also a vehicle or the charging station as such, providing some static information. Then third possibility is a written communication by means of accompanying documents such as handbooks, owner's manual, or other kind of written instructions. And the fourth possibility is digital communication or digital wireless communication. This is certainly then possible to communicate information over longer ranges, for example, via the internet or the wireless telecommunication network, or short range via direct connection via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or technologies like that. So let me take the example of the battery to go a little bit into more detail what this would mean. So the battery is, of course, one of the core items within the swappable batteries ecosystem. And therefore, it needs to share information with most of the other included entities in the ecosystem, meaning that the battery most likely will need to make use of all these four different means of communication in specific ways, which I will roughly go into in the next slides. So first of all, the battery will, of course, communicate directly with entities like the vehicle and the charging station. This communication will be managed via an interface connected or being included in the battery management system. This interface will be recommended being the CAN bus, which is a very frequently and commonly used data communication interface and protocol. The BMS is collecting and processing data generated within the battery. The BMS generates data and provides this data then to external entities like the vehicle or the charging station. On the other hand, of course, the battery also receives information from the vehicle and the charging station. So it is important that, of course, all the related entities are speaking the same language, meaning following the same communication protocol and including also the same defined and standardized set of data. Then second, the battery will also include some, let's say, static information by means of visual information provided via labels or markings. Such labels could, for example, provide information with regards to the safe handling of the battery by means of standardized pictograms or symbols. And it could also include markings for example, sustainability aspects or second life aspects. And it could also, of course, include markings like QR codes that would lead them to via the internet to information that is provided via cloud-based services. Then another means of information is written communication. This could be handbooks for owner's manual, specifying the type of battery, which I think is important in order to make clear that this battery relies to a specific standard, so that it's clear that it can be used in the foreseen application. This written communication will also most likely include information about the manufacturer. It can include safety information, operating instructions, technical documentation, or the applicable declarations of conformity. And last but not least, as I already touched upon quickly before, when talking about labeling, the battery will have to fulfill the requirements of the EU battery regulation. And one of these requirements is to provide the digital battery passport. The digital battery passport is a set of predefined information related to this battery. And this digital product passport can be accessed via a QR code that is labeled on the battery and can be scanned and will then lead to the information that is available, for example, via a cloud service from the battery manufacturer. So in essence, as a summary, the recommendations for the standardization roadmaps may be summarized as such that first of all, it is important to look into the entire ecosystem, making sure that the entire ecosystem is speaking the same language, that the information is being understood within the ecosystem, and that it's clear also to entities outside the ecosystem which want to communicate to the ecosystem which kind of protocols, which kind of data is shared in which way. The second point is then really carefully consider the content of data, the amount of data and the purpose of this data. Related to the last point, which is that the standards then finally should of course be supportive for robust solutions to comply with the regulations, specifically with regards to cybersecurity, data privacy, and data ownership. And with this summary, I would like to conclude my presentation, and I think we have time for questions if there are.
Thank you very much, Carl Maria. I guess it's a very complete approach that also shows as the mapping really cover all the different issues, but also where the communication has to be included and considered. It shows again that the standards are, let's say, clear or effective drivers, also enablers of markets. As it brings, they bring also confidence and trust, which ensure also interoperability and compatibility, as well as transparency in the communication. And this is something very important, in addition to fulfilling the requirements from or expectation from the regulations. I see one question from Uwe. Uwe, I would like to give you the floor for you to express your point, so you can speak now, I guess, if it's fine. Yes. You can unmute and then you can speak. Yes, fine. Please, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me? Because I'm trying.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm not sure if
It's also an echo.
Bit of an echo?
Yeah, it's okay. Perfect.
Maybe now? Can I try now?
Yeah. It's because you registered twice, so maybe you have two devices. You need to mute the other one. Please try again.
Does it work now?
Oh yes, perfect. Good.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I just raised one question. So it's a very good overview, I think, and quite good preparation already done. you see all the topics. My comment was, are there considered other industry associations discussions which are ongoing for some years already related to this field, specifically to battery management and related systems? I mentioned two, one inside Europe, one outside Europe. Are there plans to also think about this, what was already developed there, if this can be also used in the standardization work?
I can start answering, then I will also give the floor to my other colleagues. Yes, indeed. When we map, you probably remember when I show you at the beginning of this workshop, the organization of the work, we had these several working groups about the state of the art. There was state of the art on the technical side and market side, but also about regulation and standardization related existing initiatives. And within that, we approach a different consortium. About the battery communication consortium, this is at European level something extremely new that is not only tackling and considering L categories of vehicles, it's more general than that. However, of course, the conclusion of the expectation and the roadmap we will propose will definitely also go to these different organizations or initiatives. The idea is really to prepare and to anticipate needs for future standardization development, but at the same time also to help some research and innovative work being developed in a context of consideration towards feeding some standardization development later. So absolutely, you are totally right. This it's an EU-funded project, as you said, where we have tried to map all what exists. I have also to say that even if this the work package about the state of the art are closed now because it has been finished to fit this document, we took the initiative to even consider updates of the context because the context is evolving extremely fast. So at the end, there will be recommendation, there will be a link, and there will be an initiative towards feeding also the other existing structures or bodies, at the same time considering also their outcomes as a way or recommendation towards continuing collaboration or engaging them in the standardization development to come. So absolutely.
Good. Thank you very much for this feedback. Maybe just one other comment as I see still the slide.
Yes, please.
Cyber standards support the solution for cybersecurity, privacy, and data ownership. Cybersecurity, you mentioned the Cyber Resilience Act. So this is an ongoing topic until 2027,
Absolutely.
where we work in, and I'm also sharing there one technical committee on this area. Therefore, if there's need, I'm also willing to support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uwe. I guess this is a very good point. We already identified some of the cybersecurity related issues, absolutely. And it is something where we also need to bring trust and confidence among the users. We have seen that recently people start to be more and more reluctant towards any type of information to be shared. So it is a point where standards will be the game changer. Absolutely. That's very key. But thank you also for your support, and we'll keep in touch, of course, with regard to this point. I see that Michele and Patrick raised their hand. I would like to give the floor to Michele first, and then to Patrick. Michele, please.
Yeah, starting from the last point from Uwe regarding cybersecurity, we will investigate with experts around December, January, which is the best solution for implementing the cybersecurity, in particular the authentication among battery and vehicle and among battery and charging station. This is a topic that we investigated with a specific working group at SBMC level, but we need to share a conclusion on which will be the way to implement the European cybersecurity needs among different operators, different OEM, and different battery maker. So Uwe, if you want to have a discussion with us, we can show the status of our investigation on that point, the impact on BMS, the impact on public and secret and private key deprecation, and so on. All those topics we can exchange with our experts. That is so the first, basically it's not an answer, it's a request for expert exchange and collaboration. Another point that I would like to say to Uwe is that we investigated the Battery Innovation Consortium. We are quite complementary in terms that, yeah, we would like to standardize and be open to any future. In our standard proposal, you will never see about a specific chemistry, a specific cell type, or a specific power output of the swappable battery. And moreover, we already informed some other consortium of the necessity to deep dive their investigation. For example, the specification of some parameter, like Amruta was showing this morning. And in particular, we saw the necessity to define the definition and the calculation method for state of safety. Bernard, I don't remember which consortium we involved in this doubt, because today there is no clear parameters to identify when a battery is unsafe.
Yeah. It was Michele in the framework of Euramet, the
Euramet, yes.
For metrology, where we can definitely consider method development, protocols, testing, etc. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm finished. I don't know if Uwe, you want to reply, or I was clear.
I think was
enough.
Was clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Michele. I'd like to give the floor to Patrick. Please, Patrick.
Thanks, Bernard. Question from my side to this whole work about communication, especially about battery swapping station and perhaps also services, where I would think that comes into. When I see it from a more user-centric view, there will be at the end also a need of an API definition for an app solution, because that's mostly the way how users interact with a vehicle, with a battery swapping station, perhaps also with a battery. Will that be also the outcome to get more or less an API definition of minimum essential data, how to interact with the whole system of this work here of Camaria?
Well, if I may try to answer.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Patrick. I think it could be, although of course we need to look into, or let's say, remain within the context of Stand4SWAP. As I said before, maybe in this area of the optional necessary data, some generic or basic use cases or even business models can be considered. And I know that also from the Swappable Batteries Motorcycle Consortium, some of these generic or basic use cases and business models are defined. Maybe, or most likely, I think what you are suggesting would fit in this context to look into what kind of data is necessary in order to run such API or app solutions. However, the app as such, I don't think that it's within the context of Stand4SWAP.
Thank you, Carl Maria. Anyone to add a point to this point raised by Patrick? It is indeed something to consider in our roadmap or recos. Okay. Anybody else? So Patrick, any further comment regarding this point or another one?
No, it's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else from the floor? Participants? No? Okay, then I would suggest we go to the next point, that is a short break. I would propose a short break of a couple of minutes, being back at 11:35. I'd like to move to the next point, that is the last point of today's workshop, an important part of the Stand4SWAP activities as well. When we identified and run this mapping for the state of the art and the technical side, but also the market readiness, we also identified some domains where the maturity is not fully reached towards running and proposing new work items for standardization development, but where we can propose some pre-normative research that will accelerate the inclusion of the different topics in a roadmap of standardization in the future. So I'd like to share with you the outcomes so that you also had, yes, that's the one, yes. That you also had in the document we circulated last week to you, keeping in mind that it is also for open discussion. We probably we could have missed some of the key points or topics that you can bring some inputs and help us to complete this landscape, this mapping exercise. First of all, what has in fact led our activity for the identification of pre-normative research mapping was definitely to consider that we want to move to some interoperability, compatibility, and secure systems, and want to identify all the different elements that will contribute to meeting these 3 or 4 different priorities. Of course, something that people are not fully aware sometimes. You are all specialists of standardization, you know what it is, but many people still confuse between regulation and standards. That is something absolutely completely different, even if standards really support the implementation of regulation, but help definitely the industry and the different stakeholders in boosting their development, aligning with some regulation, bringing and being, let's say, competitive on the market, etc. But it also helps in boosting innovation to market. And if we can anticipate right now what is missing and where standards could definitely bring some added value, we can also orientate the research activities in the same direction. And as soon as we will have a kind of a proven value or effectiveness or success stories about what we develop, then we can immediately launch some standardization activities that will create trust, visibility, transparency, and help in boosting the markets. What has been done so far, and this work has been conducted within Stand4SWAP. Each different topics you have read in documents circulated were evaluated following a kind of standards matrix with the different parameters and criteria such as the TRL, the technology readiness level, the regulatory context, standardization potential, but also the different categories of stakeholders of relevance for running these activities. This is also a way to encourage further collaboration by moving together to something that will be developed on a consensus basis. Then I can move to this slide here. You have seen in this table in the document circulated, we have some areas, we have the maturity level, the gaps and needs towards moving to closer to the industrialization of the different component or equipment or system. What is the regulatory context, the standardization landscape? Why are we thinking about that? because there are ongoing activities that are directly related to these activities or where future project could be allocated. So in the standardization landscape, we need to understand what standards are developed, which technical committees exist, what are the expectations, and we can propose some pre-normative topics. I don't want to go in details in the different tables, but we did this exercise at 4 different levels: at battery level, vehicle level, charging station infrastructure level, and also the interface and full system management level. In addition to that, we also saw from the presentation from Carl Maria that communication will be a key driver, where we can also consider there will still be some needs for further support prior to running directly some standardization development. So, in short, for the pre-normative research activities and what you have read in the table dedicated to the battery level, there have been these 5 different main areas where we have seen existing gaps, but also not fully mature approaches that could require some further development. Michele was speaking before about what Euramet could also consider in this call for proposal, but metrology, protocols, etc. And this was for the safety, state of safety, as we said before. Here we have these 5 categories: safety requirements, battery management system level, the end-of-life management. That is also something that we definitely need to understand what are the real threshold to be considered, how we will manage that. At the interface, connector between the battery and vehicles, that are also, it is also something we propose at standardization level, but that will be also important to continue to test in real conditions. And also the battery mechanical requirements. This includes locking equipment mechanisms, etc. So this is at the battery level. Again, as I said, I don't want to go in the table directly because you had the opportunity to read it, and we will wait for your inputs if you have some additional ones. Doing the same at the vehicle level, we have exactly the same as before. We have the interface of the connector, mechanical interface between the battery and vehicle. That time it's in both directions. Also the mechanical requirements. I was speaking about locking mechanisms on both sides at battery level, for instance, and also vehicle level. The battery electrical requirement. There are lots of ongoing activities that we still need to consider. And in terms of interface, the communication, as also Carl Maya was referring before, what type of information to communicate and how, what are the challenge, the issues, or the difficulty, and strength, of course. So these are some of the points at vehicle level where you can see, you have seen in the table how we describe the kind of remaining activities and why we consider at different points the maturity level not high enough for being able to feed immediately some standardization development. At the charging station or infrastructures level, also Patrick has shown some clear domain areas where there is still a need for further discussion, development, testing, also in validation. We have this fire safety for the battery system at a different level, as was said already by Patrick. Some calculation of the battery capacities, state of charge, usage of patterns for daily operations, etc. The subscriptions models, that is also something extremely important to understand, and that definitely need to be considered. Using the swappable batteries as grid assets. So far, we haven't got many interest or engagement in TSO, DSO, or grid operators with regard to that, but the swapping station offer an interesting capacity or storage capacities that could definitely help in the load balancing, probably more in the frequency approach than power and energy, but definitely contributing to this. We have this vehicle to grid approach that has been analyzed for several years already now, but we have to understand how we could contribute to this type of approach. That could also pave the way to a future of battery as a service approach, where the owner of the batteries could be other type of stakeholders than the users themselves or the OEM. We have the standard, we have to think about standard installation criteria for the swapping stations, and that this will be also important for bringing trust and confidence among the decision makers. Keep in mind that we will have to install these equipment indoors or outdoors, but at either public or private zone, so safety will definitely be important. We have these issues about insurance coverage requirements that definitely need to have a common, let's say, set of harmonized consideration of the criteria to be met for the insurance coverage, and where standardization could help and boost harmonization of the approach, and then ensuring that the insurance-related stakeholders could consider this as a fundamental support to the decision to insure or not. And then we had some discussion regarding the tax level, where there is also a levy, or there are levies for understanding how we can support and what we can bring some coherence in the different schemes that exist. So these are for the charging station, also lots of remaining points to be considered as a key part of the market as well. At the interface and full system management level, there have been lots of different domain already identified, and Michele showed us several of that. But there are some activities, some areas you can see on that slide. There was just one big topic areas covered here, where we still have a lot of things, considering also the data collecting and exchange of information. So back to the communication, how we can try to ensure that different batteries could fit. They can belong to different charging station operators, and we need to ensure interoperability as long as the equipment can and will fulfill the standards they are compliant with. So these are many things to be done. We have this cybersecurity related approach, and Uwe expressed also the interest and the support, but there are still a lot of challenges there. And there are also the way to be able to, let's say, price, in fact, the services from the battery swapping, depending on the state of charge that the battery still have when we will swap it, and vice versa. So this is definitely something where we need to continue developing, fine-tuning, and bringing some clear vision, validation, or testing and models that could later be standardized. So that's in short the introduction to this pre-normative activities. I would like to also give you the floor for any additional points you would like to raise, or a suggestion to consider in the pre-normative. Again, keeping in mind that pre-normative research is a way to also promote further support to innovation, raising maturity in TRL, but also in kind of organization of the approach, by ensuring things could be boosted towards having best practice success stories or proven successful approaches, effective, efficient approaches that could later be standardized. And when I say later, as soon as possible. Any question, any points raised, a Q&R or a direct comment? Yes, I see William, you raise your hand. I just give you the floor. You can just unmute and speak, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Right, thank you. just one question. I'm curious about, we haven't talked about the ownership of the battery, because it seems that the end user, they are paying for whatever the subscription or energy.
Mhm.
But who owns the battery is my question. Is that the manufacturer still own that? I'm asking this because when we talk about we see that there is a very complicated network that the battery seems to be a main part or a core part of this complicated network. And I saw that there is one presentation slide says there should be an owner manual, and where comes I have this question: if who owns the battery at the end of the day? Because if I'm driving a motor vehicle, I swap a battery at a station. It was not the one I was originally using.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's I'm not sure it's that relevant, but just really curious about such a thing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, William. I guess I will give the floor to Michele, who already raised his hand to answer to that. It is an issue. It is something that definitely needs to be tackled, and part of the challenge about battery as a service in the future. But Michele, please.
Yeah, as I told, we would like to give the answer to the user of the e-mobility, letting him the possibility to not buy this important component of the e-mobility, the battery. So as Bernard said, we would like to promote the battery as a service, energy as a service, as I was explaining before. Because one of the risks in our SWOT analysis is that the final customer is really afraid to buying such expensive component that will have a limited life and should be carefully managed. Also in terms, not only in terms of charging, but also in terms of endurance and safety. For that reason, we would like to promote the swappable system where all those topics will be managed at an higher level within the charging station and with the energy operators. That's all, and I hope I answer your question.
William, is it a fine?
Yeah. That's fine. Just one more thing. Because I don't see there is any reason to stop new market players to enter into the market. I think there should be more consideration about batteries which is made out of Europe. Potentially somebody would cut corners building something which is not 100% compliance to the regulation or the work here we are involved in. But yeah, that's my last comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I just we had a question also from Hans Riesen. Hans, you just asked where we can get some already information from the Stand4SWAP project from our website, but also there is a direct link to the publication from the Cordis data bank you can find. I just wrote in the answer the link. Kirsten, maybe do you have the direct link on our website as well?
I can drop the link to the website in the chat, no problem.
Okay, please do so. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Yes, Carl Maria, please.
Yes, so maybe I should give an answer still to the question from William. that was related, as far as I understood, to, let's say, potential battery providers which are not fully compliant with the standardized or with the standards, or later on maybe even certification requirements. I think this is another aspect that should be carefully also included when looking about communication, making sure that the users, on the one hand, are made aware about, let's say, the specifications of the battery they are using. So making sure that they can distinguish between batteries which are fully compliant with the standards and batteries which may look compatible but are not compliant with the standard. The same, of course, accounts for service providers. So battery service providers also need to have the possibility to identify whether the batteries they are providing are really fully compliant with the standards. And last but not least, of course, there is also the aspect of market surveillance. So some sort of market surveillance activities also need to be considered. And again, here, communication, information provided with regards to the battery will also be supportive for these market surveillance measures.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kamaya, which definitely shows again that we definitely need to consider this topic also in the PNR, where there is still some models to be defined, probably also tested, and based on practice and feedback from experiment, we can then move to some standards that could help in alignment with the different models. Thank you, Kirsten, for the link as well. Anybody else? Any other question raised by participant or some additional points from the panelists? Nothing so far. Okay, so in that case, I would like to also, let me share again, to move to the, yes, to this final point of the agenda. We are quite quick. First of all, let me thank you very much for participating to this workshop, also for your contribution. As a conclusion, based on the document you circulated, the comment received, I'm very happy to see that you are fine with the way we are proposing this type of roadmap and the development, including also recommendation and prenormative activities that has been also developed with key stakeholders from the market at all different level. Oh, I see another. Okay, I just check the last comment from Hans. All right, okay, thank you very much. Sorry, in the Q&R. Okay, yes, so I'm very glad to see that this approach definitely will bring some added value and will be beneficial. We just for you to understand how we are going on, we will have this final roadmap with the inputs from the previous workshop that is already in, and this workshop that will be published on our website, and by the end of November. This is the final deadline for this final major deliverables. It will be publicly available. We will add some recommendation, but also proposition for where to allocate future standardization development, or making recommendation, or bridging with the existing technical committees. And at the same time, we will have some recommendation regarding how to support some of the pre-normative research areas identified so far towards boosting the maturity, and then having something that has a proven validity and the benefit, but also the relevance in a safe and secure environment. And then if we are able to promote this, it means we can accelerate the start of some standardization consideration. Another point that will be extremely important to consider, and that has been developed, and thank you again for your feedback also today, is this communication part, where definitely we need to not only develop a roadmap dedicated to swappable batteries for light categories of vehicles, but communication needs to be something that will be tackled at the wider range for bringing also coherence with regard to the battery regulation and the battery passport that is not only addressing issues for swappable solution, but also any type of batteries, especially in the e-mobility sector. So all of these will be covered. And finally, following some points raised before, of course, we will communicate and consider the existing additional initiatives. As I told you before, there have been a lot of new initiatives recently. The landscape is moving extremely fast. Also because we have a more clear legislative landscape today that will help people to understand where to go. And finally, we would like also to share this type of roadmap with the main, let's say, sector of application that will be in the urban area. And sharing this with some standardization related technical committees for sustainable development of cities and communities. We have one at urban level, but we have several one at global level, with a new one that is joined between IEC and ISO called GTC4. We'll share this because so far they never wanted to promote one single solutions. They said at the local authority level, we cannot give the preference to one single model or brand, because then we are close to a distortion of competition, and we cannot support any citizens to select or to choose his or her own brand of preference. So now, if we are moving to some harmonized, unified solutions, we can definitely contribute to including these type of standards in the integrated planning approach of a city or community. So these are the next steps to be considered. Again, I would like also to thank all the colleagues and partners of this Stan4SWAP project. There have been a huge amount of work run in this project, because when we drafted the project more than 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, yes, the landscape for swapping station was not at all that one. And we were also benefiting a lot from the development at the SBMC, the Swappable Battery Motorcycle Consortium, where there have been a lot of prototype development, testing, validation, and contribution to the standardization activities. Also, among the roadmap we prepared, were in preparation, we are very happy to see that already some recommendation we identified 1 or a bit more than 1 year ago are now considered in standardization activities, especially at urban level, with the new development of the technical specification within the CEN-TC 301 and its new working group 19. So things are progressing well. People are more and more interested by considering standardization as one of the key enablers of innovation to market, and especially in this domain, that will also contribute in a significant manner to our decarbonisation strategies at urban level. So having said that, again, I thank you all for your inputs. All the presentation will be available and will be circulated. Tell me if I'm correct, Kirsten or else, but it will be circulated later. Is that fine, else?
Yes, that's fine for me, of course.
Okay, perfect. So you will have access to all this document. You also have the link to our website that has been circulated by Kirsten in the chat. And also I bring it back in the Q&R. So please refer. There are already a lot of different outcomes from this Stan4SWAP project, especially about the state of the art of the market, technology, and also standardization and regulatory landscape. This is something extremely important for all of us to understand where we are, how we are progressing. And I keep in mind one last point was the point raised about moving to the higher or other categories of vehicles. And it has been said by Luc, especially moving to considering M&N also categories where it is related to some size dimension, but also where there is not necessarily a need for long range. We have a same type of approach regarding T categories of vehicles that could be moved back to L categories of vehicles, because now they could be also adapted in with small changes to urban landscape and no more agricultural ones. So these are definitely some points to be considered. And we will be in touch with you, Luc, and trying to further discuss how we can properly make some recommendation. That's again, in short, the conclusion we have. Final word to, I don't know if Enrico is still here. Are you still here, Enrico? I don't think so. Yes, Enrico. Okay, if Enrico can't, I can also, if someone wanted to have a final words to that, otherwise from the panelists. Otherwise, a big thank again to all of you, a big thank to Sensenelec for ensuring this workshop, and also preparing, sending, circulating all the information. Please keep in mind that the draft roadmap you receive will be one of the document that will be completely updated towards the final roadmap that will be accessible to all right by the end of November. Yes, I see Peter. Peter, you just raise your hand. Peter, please. Yes, you can speak, Peter.
Okay, maybe while Peter gets his connection under control, I just want to say also thanks to all of you for participating, and that we hope to see you at our final event on the 19th of November, where actually Peter will host us at the VUB.
Yes. So thank you. In next month, you all be welcome at the VUB. I would like to see, because I missed a few things the last minutes due to network problems, but I would say also from my side, one major point of this, that we need also to establish a lot of collaboration on one hand between in standardization work. There's often a difference in culture between the vehicle side, the ISO and the SEN, and the electrical side with the IEC and the Senelec. So they should work together on one hand, and on the other hand, there should also be an interaction with more the regulatory world, type approval, regulation, and so on, to come to an harmonized solution which is the best for everyone.
Thank you very much, Peter. But you're right. It's good to remind that there will be a final conference on the 19th of November, where we will present all the major outcomes, and it will be at VUB, at your place, Peter. So everyone will also receive some invitation, and we can circulate this. There will be some registration, of course, but a good opportunity to have the complete overview of the outcomes of this project. That has been a short project of 2 years, but extremely useful for the sector. So thank you very much, all of you. Again, I wish you a good day, a good week, and I hope we'll meet in persons in Brussels on the 19th of November. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or suggestion to make, please write to us. You have our emails address or your contact details. And to my colleagues and speakers, Enrico, Amrota, Peter, Michele, Carl Maria, for your key inputs today, and to all of my colleagues, and but also everyone from the participant. Thank you very much. Have a very good day, and see you very soon.